Hey folks, we are in the Oakland offices of GridSpeak, and once again I'm with Bryan Parker, who I think should be the next mayor of Oakland. Bryan, how's the campaign going, and what about this great milestone?
Well, first of all, good morning, Zenny. It's good to be back with you, and we're excited. We're humbled at the showing that Oaklanders stepped up in the first reporting period. And as you pointed to, a milestone, we raised $108,000 for the first period, which would be January 1 through June. And we did that in 6 weeks. We entered the fundraising a little bit late. And I think it's just a testament to the incredible power of the people of Oakland in wanting change and wanting to speak out, and our ability to try to widen the circle of people that can participate in the process. But we're also aware that this is the first or second inning of a 9-inning baseball game, so we're not getting too full of ourselves. We want to stay positive, keep telling the message, and hope that the people of Oakland will continue to stand by and support us.
I got to ask you, one of your donors was Amy Trask of the Raiders. How did that happen?
Well, Amy is a friend of mine. We've gotten to know each other over the last 5 or 6 years. As people often hear me say my personal story, I grew up a big Raiders fan. That was, in fact, one of the first ways that I fell in love with Oakland. I think, as many of us do, we get very passionate about our sports teams, and often that passion for the sports team can spill over into being the actual passion for the town. And that was my case. And Amy and I actually happened to have a happenstance meeting at the Claremont. She found out I was a season ticket holder. It morphed from there, and we became friends with a great deal of mutual respect for one another.
Yeah, she's a great person. One of the NFL's great executives.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, just I don't think she gets enough credit for what she did as one of, if not the first, one of the first female CEOs and high-ranking executives in any one of the 4 major sports. And she's blazed a trail for many of us to follow, and so I salute her for that work and for the work that she did with the Raiders over the last 20 years.
How is the response to you as a newcomer in the campaign gone? Because I'll just be frank. Mm-hmm. There are some who say of I call it the older black establishment,
mm-hmm.
Why is he running?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like there's this kind of young old split, and in your coalition is more than just black, by far.
Yeah.
But can you touch on that for a second?
Yeah, I think first of all, we're running to be the mayor of the city, and so we got to represent all of the people. And so I don't get into splits and all that. I think what our candidacy has done, bridging off of Movement 50, which mm-hmm. is a group that has come together of young and next generation leaders to support me, have helped us throw out some of that hope and optimism into the mainstream, and that's a message that's resonated. And I think it's a message that maybe, given my own personal background and some of the places that I've worked, have allowed me to cross over racial divides, sexual preferences, what have you. I think what many people seem to be most focused on is competency. Tell us about your competency. What is your experience? Can you run this city, and why should we believe that you can do that? And then when I'm able to tell my story, I think folks come away with, wow, this guy's done law, finance, and operations, including most recently running a $700 million division of a Fortune 500 company. I think there's some real competency there.
Tell that story.
Explain a little bit more about what you mean there.
Well, you say, when you tell your story, give my viewers what that story is.
Yeah, so I think that the story is someone that loves this town from growing up. I think the story is someone that's purposefully put together a very unique skill set of law. Again, as I said, finance, of 8 years doing that. And so in a city like ours that does have some problems with debt and other things, could really be relevant just in the same way as I'm doing with the port. And someone that understands how to operate organizations at scale. The city is $1 billion budget, and I think that that is a complex machinery with lots of moving parts. And so to do it well, I think you need somebody that's been there and has done that. And if you look at Oakland's challenges and its great opportunity, by the way, the way we make that leap is by having someone that has the strategy experience to say, hey, I've taken an asset that may not be at its full potential, but by X, Y, and Z can get there. And I have that kind of experience. So that's the growth part. But the equity part is that I share many of the same progressive values as many of the people in our city. So, right for women to choose what to do with their body, right for people to marry regardless of gender and that sort of thing. Believe in the social safety net. I know we have to invest in our schools, and we're going to need more money to pay for safety resources. My skill set allows us to think about how we grow and pay for the things that we need versus engaging in this concept that some people are calling intergenerational theft. That is, we pay for today by mortgaging our kids' future. I'm not going to do that. And the last part is just my own personal passion. I've shared with people that I had a sister that was murdered. So in a city that has so much violence and particularly murders, I know what those families are going through when that happens. And I'm going to dedicate myself every day when I wake up as mayor of this city and think about two things. One, how do we restore the sanctity for human life? How do we make sure that people don't view people that are being killed as statistics, but as somebody's sister or brother or husband, and that we actually start to do something to drive violent crime down, to drive robberies down? And then number two, how do we get back to growth in this city so that we can pay for those things that we need? So that's my story, and my whole life has been building up to giving a voice to others that may not have it, or using my skill sets to do that. Maybe the one part that I didn't touch on is that I was a child of a person who went through the civil rights movement. So organizing and community and being a servant leader, using your tools for something that were greater than yourself. So I think that my calling is to do this work. I think that there's a lot of healing that needs to go on in our city. I think there's a lot of unifying. So back to your other questions about old and new, I don't see that. I see being able to reach across, work with all different kinds of people, and bring this city together around some common themes.
What do you think of Joe Tuman entering the race as his second go at it?
Yeah, so I think that Joe, first of all, I think he's a gentleman. He's very bright, and anyone that thinks that they can add to the dialogue of taking this city forward, and as you know, we've hashtagged our slogan Oakland Forward, so pound Oakland Forward for anybody that's on Twitter. And we started this more than 9 months ago in a very informal way, going door to door, knocking around and saying, hey, we want to have a dialogue about what it means to move Oakland forward. So anybody that's coming in and wants to add in a productive and a constructive way to that dialogue, I applaud them. I know Joe a little bit. Again, going back to the gentleman, I think he will run a good campaign, and we can get out of politics as usual, and Joe will present his own case, but I certainly congratulate him for being in the race. I still think that we are the best person for the job and ultimately will prevail, but I have respect for Joe, and I wish him a good, clean, and a spirited race.
At his press conference, someone asked him, they said, why are you running against Kwan if you have a great deal of respect for her? Same question to you, because after all, you were her appointee for the board commission, so it's kind of an obvious question.
Yeah, no, so I appreciate the question, and what I will say is I think that Kwan's career has shown that she has love for this city. And we can pick apart anybody's record, right? You can pick apart mine and say, hey, you did this, you should have done that. The fact is that she's done some good things. As I have gotten further into the machinery of the city, and again, I was a Dellum's appointment to the whip. I was on that for 2.5 years. I led it as chair for 1.5 years, and I really think it was the work helping with a bunch of other men and women turn that around that led to the Port Commission. But let's be clear about why it was picked. I think it was that turnaround experience. I think it was because I'm one of the few people that have experience running a business over in China, managed 14 million square feet of real estate, and then I understand debt and finance at a very complex level. We have $1 billion, of debt overhanging the port. So with some of those things, as I got deeper into the port and port city relations, I further realized that this city was broken. And when I thought about it, I said, look, there needs to be a growth agenda. Here are the things that need to happen to both add revenues to pay for the things we need and to add jobs for every man, woman, and working age child that wants one. And I just looked at the current administration and said, I don't think that skill set is there to take us to where we need to go. And my first and only responsibility is to the citizens of Oakland. I am a resident of this community. I view myself as a servant leader, and I look out and I see something that's broken, and I don't see a skill set that could fix it. This isn't about attacking anyone or not having respect for them. It's about saying, are you the best person for the job?
Let's switch shifting gears to sports. How, as mayor, do you plan to retain our sports organizations?
Yeah, good question. So, and I know that you wanted to talk about safety a little bit as well, so I'll just dive on that just super quick before we go into
sports on the brain for some reason.
Yeah, well,
we'll come back to
we all it's the boys of summer. Our A's are doing very well, so I think it's a good thing to be thinking about this time of the year. But like people ask me, hey, how do you get business going? And one of the first things that I say in talking to many business leaders from Oakland, around the state of California, and throughout our nation more generally, because we're trying to make the case for more people to come here, and they say safety, safety, safety. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's got to be our first priority, mm-hmm. and I think we've got to settle the leadership of OPD. Those men and women put themselves on the line every single day, an enormous respect to them, but they're going out undermanned. The police force should be at least 900, but somewhere 9 to 11. We're a little bit below 650 right now.
How do we pay for that?
Well, how we pay for that is getting back to that agenda of growth. Mm-hmm. How we pay for that is getting into public-private partnerships. How we pay for that is going after more state and federal grants. How we pay for that is thinking outside the box, is not thinking that we have $1 billion, and so if I give more to the police, that's necessarily got to come from somewhere else. How we pay for it is not all fighting over the same little crumbs for one pie, but we grow 3-4 pies so that everybody gets a chance at the table and we have enough money to pay for the things that we need. So stabilizing the OPD, getting them more officers, having sensitivity training between the officers so that they have an appreciation for the community, particularly black and brown men. As the Zimmerman verdict came out, I think that you see again a rising in racial tensions. I think we've got to take that head on and make sure that we have an active dialogue, because the community and community policing has got to be an important part of any safety discussion. Third, I want to talk about healthy cities, and my main point here is clean neighborhoods, and is doing things like community gardens, where we were out in West Oakland helping build a garden last week with a neighborhood association. But you give people pride in their neighborhoods, you beautify it, the stats show that they take care of it more, and then you have less broken glass on the ground, mm-hmm. you have better crime statistics, lower rates of crime, in other words. Number 4, we invest in our education. And number 5, I go back to my jobs point. There is no safety plan that will be complete without a companion jobs program. We've got to give more jobs into the system. And then to your other point of how do we pay for this? Hey, in the beginning, it's going to take us a while to get the economy growing. There's some things that we can do in the short term. But I think also what we may be missing a little bit is the power of technology. And how do we leverage technology across the board? Predictive analytics, stuff that can help us solve crime in a very proactive way. That, I think that can...
May I have?
We thought that was a fire drill, folks, but continue. Yeah. So let's shift gears to sports, because we got about 5 minutes of time.
Absolutely. So on the sports teams, I think proactivity is the key. I think on the Warriors, for instance, if we had been maybe a little bit more proactive and made some business cases, including why it's so important, what it means on jobs, talking about public-private partnerships, again, boils down to the skill set. Do we have people in City Hall that get business? If you do, you know what businesses are motivated by, and you're able to do some things. But I think there's still some work that needs to be done in terms of finalizing the Warriors' move over there. And I would continue as mayor to fight like hell and see what other kinds of things can we do. And in the theory of regional politics, if we do.
So your take is different from Tuman's. Tuman says that he thinks the Warriors is gone. He's not even going to try.
Yeah,
You're going to try. You're going to try to keep him.
I don't concede that, and again, I think that goes into experience. I have experience running business. I have experience with complex financial deals, and I know that they have to put together quite a bit of money to still get this done. So one, the financing's not done. Number two, CEQA, and so around environmental stuff.
California Environmental Quality Act.
Thank you. They want to perch this stadium further out into the bay. So anytime you mess with oceans, marine lands, and that sort of thing, there are all kinds of approvals and groups that may or may not like that. So they're going to have to get through a lot of those kind of things.
What about the A's?
Well, and I'll finish on that.
Sure,
the Warriors. There's a big pier out there that's going to need a lot of infrastructure and retaining and that sort of thing. So, can it be done? Yes. Is it more likely than not that they will go? Yes. But is it a done deal? It absolutely isn't. And before we go to the A's, what I was going to say is, in this theory of regionalism, what I would have done is sit there and talked with Mayor Lee and said, look, now it's going to be the reverse. We're going to have lots of our residents coming over to your city to do this. How do we talk about sharing jobs? How do we talk about sharing revenue coming out of this? Because as we know, a more weakening Oakland and taking the Warriors out would have, in at least a couple of economic aspects, is bad for the whole region. So how do we work together? On the A's, we know that we have a frustrated ownership group. They don't like the Coliseum. They want one of these modern new ballparks. Fortunately, the city administrator and assistant city administrator Blackwell have done a very good job of working with the A's and working with Major League Baseball, and trying to keep them at the table. And there are a couple of sites. We can make some major modifications up at the Coliseum site, or there's a site that folks are talking about, Howard Terminal down at the port. If you were able to do that, that would provide you a waterfront ballpark, much like we've seen in San Francisco, Baltimore, Cincinnati, a few other places. And what we've also seen is, in addition to the team staying, you have a nice new environment that could be transformative to that area. So all the bars and restaurants that are down there, they would have more patrons. Retail that hasn't really been there since Barnes & Noble left, you would attract it because you have lots of traffic down there. And the team becomes worth more. The owners are making more money. They're happy. They invest more in the team. And I think you could see when San Francisco moved from Candlestick to Pac Bell, and I don't have the exact numbers, but I think it was in the order of magnitude of maybe 25% or so in their payroll that took an uptick. And I think then it's no accident. They got better players. They got more attendance. And they've won the World Championships 2 out of 3 the last years. So if we can take our payroll from the mid-50s, 60s, up closer to 100 million with talented people like Billy Beane and others in that building, we're going to compete for championships year after year. And I think that'll be an important thing to the city.
What about the Raiders?
So the Raiders are, again, Oakland's team. I think we identify with them a lot. The other thing is, I think having the A's down at Howard Terminal can focus on the Coliseum being a football-only stadium. And so we still have, because the city has refinanced the Raiders bonds a few times, those still outstanding. So we're going to have an issue if we go back to our taxpayers and say, hey, can you pay for a new stadium or upgrades? So there's some other things that we can do with public-private partnerships, maybe some creative financing, more of it coming from the private side, to retrofit and make that new and modern, or depending on how much money we can raise. Certainly the Raiders would love a new stadium. And as a partner, what I would say is, look, I want to work with you to make that happen, but let's just, and I'll always just be honest and be upfront, let's be honest about the world of municipal finance, and let's be honest about that world within Oakland, and that's going to be a tough sell, so we're going to have to think outside the box in terms of doing things. But what I'll also tell them is under my administration, where we're going to add jobs, and we're going to add thousands of them to take over a 6-year period, or I'm sorry, over the 4-year administration, to take our current unemployment from a little over 15 to down near the national unemployment rate. We are going to bring businesses here, and those businesses are the types that buy sponsorships that make football teams go. They're going to buy luxury suites. So I am going to partner with you to try to make sure that we can keep this great asset in Oakland, that you're happy, and that the people and the city also get something out of the deal. We got to make sure that it's a win-win on all those parameters.
In closing, how can people contact you and get behind your campaign?
Yeah, so there are a couple of ways. They can go to bryanparker.org. That is our website. On Twitter, we are at Bryan Parker 2014. And of course, if you're on Twitter using the hashtag pound Oakland Forward and pound movement 50, we'll get you to us. In addition, easily searchable on Facebook, and you can follow us there. We push lots of things out through that medium as well.
Hey, thank you. Great to talk to you again.
Thank you very much.
Be coming back to me.
Thank you.
Cool.